Most people heard Trump wants to buy Greenland and thought, a joke. They were wrong. This was never about real estate, headlines, or spectacle. It was about geography reasserting itself at the exact moment the global order began to fracture. Greenland sits at the intersection of three forces that decide who dominates the 21st century: control of trade routes, control of strategic minerals, and control of early warning military systems. All three are converging now. For most of modern history, the Arctic was irrelevant, frozen, inaccessible, and economically useless. Empires expanded south and east, not north. Ice acted as a permanent wall. That wall is collapsing. The Arctic is warming nearly 4 times faster than the global average. This is not a projection, it is measured reality. Satellite records show that summer Arctic sea ice has fallen from roughly 8 million square kilometers in the 1980s to around 4 million today. This is not an environmental story. It is a strategic shock. Ice disappearance does not just expose land, it creates water, and where water exists, ships follow. The opening of Arctic sea routes is the most important trade shift since the Suez Canal. A container ship traveling from Shanghai to Rotterdam through the Suez Canal sails approximately 10,500 nautical miles. Using Arctic routes, that distance drops to around 8,500 miles. That reduction means lower fuel consumption, lower insurance risk, shorter crew rotations, faster inventory cycles, and higher capital efficiency. At global scale, it means billions of dollars in structural cost savings. This is why shipping firms, insurers, navies, and intelligence agencies all track Arctic ice maps daily. Greenland sits directly at the gateway to these routes. It is not a peripheral island. It is a choke point. Control of choke points has always defined power. Gibraltar, Malacca, Hormuz, Panama, Suez. Greenland is becoming the Arctic equivalent. Any vessel moving between the North Atlantic and the Arctic must pass Greenland's coastline. Any military force operating in the high north must account for Greenland's airspace, ports, and surveillance capabilities. This is why Greenland's value exploded the moment ice stopped being permanent. Shipping, however, is only the first layer. The second layer lies beneath the ice. Greenland contains 39 of the 50 minerals officially classified by the United States as critical to national security. This includes rare earth elements essential for electric motors, wind turbines, EV batteries, precision-guided munitions, satellites, radar systems, and advanced computing. These are not luxury resources, they are system-critical inputs. At present, China dominates roughly 85 to 90% of rare earth processing and separation. This dominance does not come from mining volume alone. It comes from control of refining, chemical separation, magnet production, and downstream integration. That control is leverage. In recent years, China has repeatedly tightened export controls on rare earths and other strategic materials, demonstrating how supply chains can be turned into coercive tools. Greenland represents a partial escape from that dependence. This is why US institutions have shown unusual willingness to finance Greenlandic mining projects, including backing for the Tanbreez rare earth deposit, not because of near-term profit, but because strategic denial matters more than margins. This is not market behavior, it is industrial statecraft. The third layer is military. The shortest distance between Russia and North America is not across the Atlantic or Pacific. It is over the Arctic. This has been true since the dawn of the nuclear age. Greenland hosts Pituffik Space Base, formerly Thule Air Base, one of the most critical nodes in the US missile warning and space tracking network. Its sensors detect missile launches, track objects in orbit, and provide early warning that determines response time in a nuclear scenario. Seconds matter. In an era of hypersonic glide vehicles and fractional orbital bombardment concepts, Arctic coverage becomes even more decisive. Russia understands this. Over the past decade, it has reopened and expanded more than 50 Arctic military facilities, built new runways, deployed air defense systems, and increased submarine patrols under polar ice. China understands it too. Despite being geographically distant, China now labels itself a near-Arctic state, invests in Arctic research stations, ice-capable vessels, satellite coverage, and infrastructure projects across the region. Greenland is not neutral ground, it is contested space. This context explains why Trump's proposal mattered. In 2019, when Trump first suggested buying Greenland, the idea was ridiculed. Political leaders framed it as absurd. Media coverage treated it as a punchline. But strategy does not care about optics. From a purely strategic perspective, the logic was simple. Influence is temporary. Ownership is permanent. Under existing agreements, the United States already maintains a military presence on Greenland. But presence depends on consent. Consent can change. Governments change. Alliances shift. Ownership eliminates uncertainty. Trump approached geopolitics the same way he approached business. Control assets, eliminate counterpart risk, deny competitors access. By 2025 and 2026, the global context had shifted enough that the logic was no longer laughable. There is precedent. In 1867, the United States purchased Alaska from Russia. At the time, it was mocked as Seward's folly. Today, Alaska anchors US Arctic power, energy production, and strategic depth. Greenland is larger, more resource-rich, and more strategically positioned than Alaska. Trump was not proposing something unprecedented. He was proposing something unfashionable. But Greenland is not empty land. It is home to approximately 57,000 people, primarily Inuit, with their own political institutions, culture, and identity. Greenland enjoys self-rule within the Kingdom of Denmark and has long debated eventual independence. Polls consistently show that around 85% of Greenlanders oppose becoming part of the United States. They want sovereignty, not substitution. This is where the purchase idea breaks down. Strategic logic does not override political reality, but it does not end the contest. Instead of ownership, influence becomes the mechanism. This explains US intervention when Greenland sought external financing for major infrastructure projects. When Chinese firms offered funding for airport construction, Washington intervened forcefully, fearing that debt dependency could translate into strategic control. The projects were halted. Denmark stepped in. The US reopened a permanent consulate in Nuuk. Aid, financing, and diplomatic attention increased sharply. Greenland went from ignored to indispensable. Trump's blunt approach exposed something many policymakers preferred to handle quietly. Greenland is already central to great power competition. The question is not whether the US will engage, it is how aggressively and under what structure. Ownership was one option, influence is another. Military presence is already established. Economic leverage is expanding. Greenland's strategic value ensures it will never return to obscurity. The broader lesson is not about Trump. It is about geography returning as a dominant force. For decades, globalization reduced the importance of location. Capital flowed digitally. Supply chains stretched globally. Distance mattered less. That era is ending. Energy transitions, mineral scarcity, military competition, and climate-driven geography are reversing the trend. Physical choke points matter again. Land matters again. Ice matters again. Greenland sits at the intersection of all three. This is why Trump wanted Greenland. Not because of ego, not because of headlines, because Arctic ice is melting, because shipping routes are shifting, because minerals are becoming weapons, because missile paths run over the pole. Geography does not negotiate, it reasserts itself. Greenland is no longer the edge of the map, it is the center of the next power shift, and every major power already knows it.